Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I found an article on Newsweek with a headline, and I thought, I care about veterans, and maybe this might be something I want to share and just get some perspective on what's going on. Now, remember, everything that we have as a veteran community, surviving spouse community, dependents, spouses, all of that, everything that we have was on two things. It was on the back of veterans before us, fighting and lobbying for what we have, and the politicians that helped push it over the finish line, right? So everything's political. Here we are. So moving on, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it as we continue to try to pave the road forward for not only ourselves, but those that are coming behind us. The two asks are really, look, hit the thumbs up and let the video run. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. I really do appreciate it. Go to the homepage. You'll see the tabs there for videos and shorts and lives, and then you'll see members there, and you can click on that. Thank you so much to all you members. I really do appreciate you. All right, so the headline, why J.D. Vance and Tim Walz need to pay attention to veterans. Okay, so I like it because we are a focal point, right, as veterans. Why J.D. Vance and Tim Walz need to pay attention to veterans. This is on Newsweek, came out August 17th. It was updated August 18th, and I'm sharing it with you here today. All right, so it goes on here to say veteran Jim, I think it's Whaley, I think, explained to Newsweek on Saturday why vice presidential candidates, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, should pay attention to veterans in the upcoming election. For the first time in 2 decades, Republicans and Democrats have former military men on their presidential tickets, with Vance, former President Donald Trump's running mate, and Walz, Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate. Whaley, the CEO of Mission Roll Call, please, somebody tell me how to say it. I think it's Whaley. I need phonetics. All right. So Mission Roll Call, a nonpartisan organization that advocates for veterans issues and relies on their own polling to do so, told Newsweek via telephone on Saturday afternoon that having Vance 40 and Walz 60, I'm assuming years of age, right? So Vance is 40 years old, Walz is 60 years old, as vice presidential candidates sends a great message that we value and continue to value the importance of service to the country. Vance served in the Marine Corps as a combat correspondent in Iraq between August 2005 and February 2006. Meanwhile, Walz enlisted in the Army National Guard at the age of 17 and served 24 years before retiring in 2005 with the I don't know which guard. I'm assuming. I mean, I don't really know, but I'm assuming that it's in Minnesota where he's the governor. That he was, but I mean, it could be anywhere. For those that know. Anyway, so he was in the Army Guard. So Whaley, who served 2 decades in the U.S. Army, explained how the vice presidential candidates from both parties can best champion veterans' issues. I think most veterans would like to see a robust discussion on the issues that are most important to veterans, and we poll our veterans across the nation, and they will tell you that it's important that we have a discussion around veterans benefits, around veterans homelessness, and then access to health care, Whaley said. But how much of a difference could veteran voters and voters who care about veterans issues make in the November election? Well, before we dive into that, there's about 18 million, just shy of 18 million, according to whatever I pulled up the other day, 18 million veterans in the U.S. So 18 million veterans, then you got to include spouses and potentially dependent children. Well, I guess they're not really dependent. Well, I mean, if they're going to college, right? So dependent college-aged kids that are going to school. And potentially the children, right? All are kind of in that veteran sphere and could um, could all vote similarly. I can't say the word similarly. Anyway, moving on. Of the veterans that we poll, 97% are registered to vote, Whaley said. When you think about the 18.5 million veterans in our country, that's not a small number. Whaley said that number gets bigger when you factor in veterans' families, caregivers, spouses, and dependents. That's a sizable block of voters that feel that veterans' issues are very important, he said. When asked how Vance plans to champion veterans' issues, Luke Schroeder, a spokesman for the senator, told Newsweek via email on Saturday afternoon the Trump-Vance administration will do more for veterans and our military than any other administration in modern history. They'll ensure veterans receive the respect, treatment, and benefits they deserve while also pursuing peace through strength on the world stage to prevent unnecessary wars in the future. He continued, in his first term, President Trump's VA Mission Act passed Congress with overwhelming bipartisan support. The legislation expanded veterans' access to quality care and cut needless red tape, but Tim Walz voted no. That's not the kind of leadership veterans need in Washington. Interesting. Moving on. What issues are veterans facing? According to Whaley, food insecurity, underemployment, homelessness, and suicide are some of the issues plaguing the veteran community. We have nearly 1.4 million veterans struggling with food insecurity in our country, and over 60% of veterans report that they're underemployed due to a systemic mismatching in their skills and education, he said. Even current service members struggle with food insecurity, Willie said. 24% of active duty military have food insecurity issues. There are anywhere from 30,000 to 40,000 veterans experiencing homelessness every night, and 17 to 20 veterans take their lives every single day, Whaley said. It should not be a surprise that we're having struggles as a nation in recruitment efforts. All those things are intertwined, he said, adding that the struggles that veterans are facing is a national security issue that should be discussed and should be debated. There have been no greater advocate for our brave military men and women than President Trump. Trump's National Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, told Newsweek via email on Saturday afternoon. Kamala Harris was the last person in the room during Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, and she owns every bit of that failure. Kamala Harris prioritizes luxury hotel rooms for illegal immigrants while our veterans remain homeless on the street. Leavitt added that Trump rebuilt the military as president and that veteran underemployment hit a record low during his 4 years in office. Last fiscal year, the Military Service Collective missed its recruiting goal by roughly 41,000 recruits. So that's all your departments in their recruiting efforts, down 41,000, according to the U.S. Department of Defense official Ashish Vazirani. It would be great if both campaigns present a plan to help veterans transition to civilian life, because right now that's not working, Whaley added. Vance Walz military service drama. As the race to the White House heats up, Vance has criticized a recently resurfaced comment Walz made about being in combat from a political event in 2018, accusing the Minnesota governor of lying about his military service. What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something you're not, Vance told reporters in Michigan on August 7th. Speaking about gun control, Walz, who was a U.S. representative at the time, said in a 2018 clip, "We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at." However, Walz never went to war. The Harris-Walz campaign recently said that the Minnesota governor misspoke at the time, and Walz previously acknowledged that he never saw combat in an NPR News interview in which he said, "I know that there are certainly folks that did far more than I did." Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a Democrat and veteran himself, said on CNN last Sunday, "A veteran disparaging another veteran goes against certainly everything I learned during my time in service." Meanwhile, At a campaign event in Los Angeles on Tuesday, Walz said to anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice. When asked how veterans felt about the recent Vance Walz drama, Welly said that he could only go based on the conversations he's been having with veterans, as Mission Roll Call has not polled this question. From the ones I speak to at different events and just normal life, and those that I've served with and others, we want to see the big problem solved, Whaley said. We want to see the issues that are really affecting veterans' lives. If you're struggling to get food on the table, I don't think you really are paying attention to this banter that's going on. Whaley did say that he thinks that Vance Walz honor and love their time and service. And there's only a little bit left. They both signed a blank check to serve their country. It would be great if we can, and I know it's an election year and this could be naive, but it would be great if both candidates talk about what they're going to do about changing the trajectory that veterans are on right now, he added. Mission Roll Call wants to make veterans' voices heard on the local, state, and federal level, Whaley said, who urged veterans to visit Mission Roll Call's website to participate in polls, volunteer, and or get involved with other organizations. All right, so that concludes it. I get it. It's kind of political, obviously. I mean, look, we got two veterans, right? I don't know. I never looked. I don't know if Walz ever did. I mean, I would think 24 years is a long time. If he did any sort of active duty, I get that he didn't see combat. I don't know if he was ever activated in all those years. But in any case, the bottom line is that both of these people served in some sort of capacity, and regardless of your political flavor, really, absolutely, we need to push veterans issues now more than ever, because it's almost like we have to force the hand in a way. And there are, I've said it before, plenty of groups out there that are loud, and veterans need to be a little bit louder. The VA has absolutely stumbled and failed and fumbled over the past 4 years with multiple 5, 6 huge deals affecting veterans, potentially putting veterans on the street, losing their homes, taking money back from overpaid pensions, missing important updates for dependents to add additional income into veterans' pockets, overpaying veterans who try to take dependents off and then trying to rip that money back, and a whole host of IT issues and not getting intent to files done in time and place, all that stuff. Maybe people missed out on getting their intent to file actually acknowledged by the VA and missed out on it completely. There are so many fumbles from the VA that it is unbelievable. I would love to see 4 or 5 of those things talked about, addressed. I would love to see COLA talked about. The VA, remember, the VA creates and calculates its own COLA for VRNE and for Chapter 35. Why can't the VA just do it for everything with a stipulation it can never be lower than Social Security's? Right? That would be good. So with that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.